These disturbing and occasionally deadly food recalls from the past 20 years just might convince you to inspect everything a little more closely the next time you make a turkey sandwich or host Thanksgiving dinner. The bacteria Listeria has a nasty reputation for wreaking havoc on the food industry, as it can cause symptoms like nausea, fever, and diarrhea. In the worst cases, it can even be fatal, which is why BrucePac moved so quickly in May 2024 after realizing that several of its ready-to-eat poultry products could have been contaminated. The comprehensive list of affected products compiled by the United States Department of Agriculture spanned over 400 pages. It included such popular snack products as Trader Joe's Turkey Club Wrap and Walmart's Market-Side Cobb Salad with turkey and bacon. Several schools also received potentially contaminated products, with nearly 12 million pounds recalled in total. Luckily, no illnesses were reported to the USDA in this case. In January 2024, Salm Partners LLC got the new year off to a bad start by initiating a recall of 133,039 pounds of ready-to-eat turkey kielbasa, a kind of smoked sausage that originates from Poland. With the kielbasa already distributed nationwide, it was a huge undertaking, but it was very necessary as multiple people had already complained that their sausages were contaminated. The issue this time was fragments of bone. The Department of Agriculture's Food Safety and Inspection Service has strict guidelines on how much bone can be left in poultry products, only allowing particles that measure a maximum of 1.5 by 2 millimeters. One person suffered a minor oral injury after biting into one of the fragments. Anyone who found the sausage in their kitchen was encouraged to return it for a refund. In April 2023, people with Jennie-O fully cooked turkey sausage patties were in for an unwelcome surprise. As it turned out, they'd actually purchased mislabeled frozen turkey meatballs, which would be a big problem for anyone with a soy allergy. In total, it was believed that roughly 11,800 pounds of the meatballs were mislabeled. With soy among the top 8 allergens in the United States, the Food Safety and Inspection Service encouraged consumers to double-check any turkey products in their home. They also warned any institutions that may have bought the product in bulk to do the same. Butterball is one of the biggest names in the turkey business, but it's still faced some challenging recalls over the years. In October 2021, the company was forced to initiate a recall of approximately 14,000 pounds of ground turkey products. Both Butterball all-natural ground turkey and Kroger ground turkey were pulled from store shelves after it was discovered that they may have contained small pieces of blue plastic. There were fortunately no reports of anybody actually finding the plastic in their turkey, but in these situations it's always better to be safe than sorry.
One word.
Yes, sir.
Are you listening?
Yes, I am.
Plastics.
With the recall happening 1 month before Thanksgiving, it's no surprise that Butterball was also quick to stress that this was an anomaly. As the company insisted to CNN Business, the health and safety of the people who enjoy our products is a top priority for Butterball, and we work hard to ensure our product safety program meets or exceeds government regulations. Conagra Brands is no stranger to bad headlines. In the early 2000s, it faced a string of food safety scandals, and then in 2020, it undertook a hefty recall of frozen turkey and chicken bowl products. About 276,872 pounds of these bowls were withdrawn from the market after multiple consumers complained that they found small rocks in their meals. As a result, the turkey sausage and egg white scramble variety of Healthy Choice Power Bowls was pulled from stores nationwide. Customers were also encouraged to check their freezers for any meals containing the offending rocks.
I got it wrong.
2 years before blue plastic got in Butterball's turkey, the brand undertook a much more dramatic recall. In March 2019, the Food Safety and Inspection Service announced that 6 ground turkey products produced by the company were potentially contaminated with salmonella. While 3 of these products were Butterball's own brand, 2 others were sold under Kroger and Food Lion. In total, this brought the recall to 39 tons of raw ground turkey. Some of the items had been donated to food banks in Minnesota, North Carolina, Wisconsin, and Massachusetts. The recall was pretty urgent, as an outbreak of salmonellosis had affected 5 people across 2 states. Similar to Listeria, salmonella primarily causes symptoms like diarrhea, stomach cramps, and fever. It also causes roughly 420 deaths in the United States every year. A salmonella outbreak struck in 2018 that was traced back to Jennie-O ground turkey, so the company then recalled 164,210 pounds of raw ground turkey products. By the time a clear link between the outbreak and Jennie-O had been established, the outbreak was already in full swing. Altogether, 216 people contracted salmonellosis across 38 states. It's believed that the outbreak actually started back in November 2017, with 22 cases also reported in Canada. Steve Lycan, Jennie-O Turkey Store's president at the time, insisted that the company had made operational changes over the years to reduce the risk of salmonella, including vaccinating turkeys to protect them from the bacteria. He also claimed that this was an industry-wide issue. A mass turkey recall was initiated in October 2017 after a worker at a Publix grocery store noticed that some packages seemed to contain metal shavings. The recall ultimately affected 4 products manufactured by Prestage Foods, 2 varieties of Publix ground turkey, and 1 each from Fit and Active and Wise Markets. Approximately 38,475 pounds of meat were pulled from the market in 9 different states. While there was never any specific explanation about how the metal ended up in the turkey, Prestige Foods had contacted the USDA in September to report that the contamination likely took place when workers at its plant were sanitizing processing equipment. Luckily, thanks to the quick response, no injuries were reported. In October 2016, an unidentified black material somehow appeared in oven-roasted turkey manufactured by Michigan turkey producers. After being alerted about this by a customer complaint, the company issued a recall for approximately 54,000 pounds of its products. The products in question had been shipped to a distribution center in Florida, as well as food services in the same state and Puerto Rico. The good news is that no injuries were reported as a result of the contamination. Anyone who may have purchased products with the affected lot codes was encouraged to check and throw them out.
Fine, throw it in the trash then.
In August 2011, the Cargill Meat Solutions Corporation undertook what was then the 3rd biggest recall in the U.S. Approximately 36 million pounds of ground turkey were recalled after a strain of salmonella that proved particularly resistant to antibiotics sickened 136 people in 34 states. The outbreak was believed to have begun in February of that year, but it was only in July that the Food Safety and Inspection Service issued a public health alert warning people to take care while handling raw turkey and ensure that it's cooked to an internal temperature of 165 degrees Fahrenheit. A few weeks later, the outbreak was linked to the death of a man in Sacramento, at which point Cargill issued its recall. It later emerged that the FSIS had found salmonella in Cargill ground turkey all the way back in March, but apparently didn't have evidence to justify a recall until months later. In response to the outbreak, Cargill temporarily shuttered its processing plant in Springfield, Arkansas for a week. In September, the same strain of salmonella was again found in the ground turkey, forcing yet another plant closure and a smaller recall. Cargill went on to conduct mass layoffs and later introduced an aggressive sampling and monitoring program. Listeria was the culprit once again behind a recall by HoneyBaked Foods Inc. in November 2006. After selling the potentially contaminated meat through its catalog, website, and 4 HoneyBaked ham stores in Ohio, the company warned that all 3-pound packages of its cooked turkey breast were at risk, as were its packages of its whole ham and glazed half ham. This recall was initially voluntary, but soon became government-mandated. Nearly 47,000 pounds of meat were affected altogether, with the Canadian Food Inspection Agency also issuing a health hazard alert. In an unfortunate twist of fate, the recall came a day after Thanksgiving, although fortunately no reported illnesses were linked to the honey-baked meat. One reason that Listeria is an all-too-common threat to the food industry is because it actually thrives in cold temperatures. LSK Smoked Turkey Products Inc. had to deal with that reality in 2005, when routine testing by the Food Safety and Inspection Service found positive results for the bacteria.
Oh no, that's not good.
The New York-based company went on to recall 39,000 pounds of its turkey wings and drumsticks. By this point, they'd already been distributed across Delaware, New Jersey, New York, and Florida. This was another case of preemptive action that may have prevented any actual illness, as no cases were linked to the products in question. Processed meat doesn't exactly have the best reputation. For one thing, the steps involved in making these products include plenty of opportunities for contamination. In November 2004, a minor panic was sparked for International Trading Company after one of its wholesale customers complained that some of its canned turkey luncheon meat was possibly underprocessed. As a result, the Texas-based company initiated a recall that started in Puerto Rico, where nearly 11,000 pounds of canned turkey were pulled from distribution. A week later, the recall expanded to cover the continental United States as well as one European country. The company withdrew over 84,000 pounds of its 12-ounce cans of turkey from California, Florida, Illinois, North Carolina, New Jersey, New York, Texas, and the Netherlands. No reported illnesses were linked to the turkey, though the Food Safety and Inspection Service still flagged the recall as a high risk for serious health consequences or even death.